What's going on, everybody? YL from RebelEars.com here again with another episode of showing you guys how I set up my sessions, uh, how I like to move my workflow of how I do things. So today we are going to talk about organizing a session. This is very, very key to becoming successful in this industry and becoming an engineer that a lot of people want to work with. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from different artists about engineers losing sessions. Um, and, hell, I've done it too. It's part of the living and learning. And I think this is why this video will be very, very important for you guys, just to make sure that you understand how detrimental this can be to your career and for your future clients. So, first off, first thing I want to highlight is you see the name of my session, right? Rebel Ears, Episode 2, Session Organization. Now, that's a very detailed title. I love detailed titles. This is when you create the session. This is from the jump, right out of the gate, on how you want to label your sessions and name your sessions. Because when you think about it, you go through your different folders, you go through your hard drive or whatever, and sometimes you search. And sometimes you search and 80 things pop up, right? Sometimes you search a keyword looking for something that you may have lost, or something that you didn't save correctly, and 100 things pop up. If you have a really detailed title to your sessions, the actual session will pull up. The actual folder with the session and the audio files and everything will just pull up by itself. You won't have to sift through 200 files, looking for what you're looking for. So always come with a very detailed title of your session straight out of the gate. That can be date, artist name, title of the song, date, artist name, title of the beat, what studio you recorded it at. I mean, like, get really specific. I get a lot of sessions, and I see a lot of sessions where people just save it as the date. People, producers, they just save it as a number. And then, they get artists that say, hey, man, I want some trap soul beats. And they have to sift through 1,000,000 beats because they don't even have their beats organized for just their trap soul instrumentals. So now they're wasting time on their own, and they're wasting time of the artist as well. So always name your sessions very detailed straight out the gate. It'll save you a lot of headache a year from now, 6 months from now, however. All right, so that is the first thing that I want to highlight, naming my session. The next thing that I want to highlight, I want you all to pay attention to your disk allocation. So, I don't have anything here yet, but if you go to Setup and go to Disk Allocation, this tab and this page will show you where everything is saved. Every track that you put in on this Pro Tools session, and I will show you guys this again once we get some tracks in here maybe. But so this is your root media folder. These are your different tracks. Every track that you import, every track that you create inside of Pro Tools, this section right here will be in detail of where it is saved at. So if you don't see your hard drive name on here, or you don't see your desktop name, or wherever you want to save it in this area, you're probably not saving it where you want to. So always check out your disk allocation page, your tab, just to make sure that you're saving correctly. All right, so let's go on and get started. First thing we're going to do, Shift Command N, we're going to create a bunch of tracks. And this is actually a way to create templates, and this is how I create my templates. I start from scratch, and I start out creating tracks. So let's say we're going to do, I don't know, 16 mono audio tracks. Let's say we do 5 auxes, We're going to keep this simple. We have to have, make your auxes stereo. We're going to do a stereo, so auxes. So we got 17 audio tracks, mono, 5 stereo auxes, and we're going to do 1 stereo master fader. We're going to do a very simple template. All right. So once we upload all of these tracks, as you can see, they just come in audio file, audio track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 17, aux 1 through 5, master 1. All right. So now that we've done that, I actually want to go in here, shift option. I don't want any input. So holding down shift and option will allow you to do the same thing to everything that's highlighted. So as you can see, every track that I just put in here is still highlighted together. So holding down shift option, going to input, going to no input, just knock all of those out of my inputs. Now I have no inputs up. Hit option, click on it, it deselects everything. All right, so first thing I want to do, let's say I want to name my tracks. All right, that's the first thing I want to do. I got my session named, I got my tracks in, I got all the tracks in that I need for my template or for my session or whatever. Now I want to name them. This is why having templates are important as well, because you don't have to do this, what we're about to do on this video, every session. You know, if you organize your sessions correctly, you create a template out of it, and then boom, every time you pull it up, it's named, it's routed, exactly how we're about to do on this video. So if you want to know how to make a template, this is also a great video for you. All right, so we're going to double click. Let me exit out of that. So we're going to double click on the name here. Double click on that. It's going to bring up the name of the track. I also like this function on how to name tracks is because you can literally add any comments here, right? If this was a beat, I can put the key of the beat right here, the tempo of the beat right here, the producer's name, you know, for other reasons, you know, any kind of comments and notes that I want to put here, you know, I can just type it on in with the name of the track. All right, so we're going to name this first audio track. Let's say we have 2 artists coming in, right? Or I'm working with 2 artists tomorrow. And then, you know, both artists, of course, they have to have their own sound. So you're going to give them their own track. So let's say artist number 1 is Jimmy Jim. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy Cash. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. All right, so we got Jimmy Cash as our first artist. All right, let's say our second artist is Big Paper. All right, we got Jimmy Cash and Big Paper. These are our 2 artists. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Big Paper and I'm going to drag him on down here somewhere, right? Because these first few audio tracks are obviously going to belong to Jimmy Cash. All right, so we got Jimmy Cash 1. Then we'll name this Cash Punch In. Cash Punch In. All right. As you can see, we got Jimmy Cash main vocals. We got his punch in vocals. Let's say we got Cash dubs. So some artists come and they like to dub, which means basically they're rapping the same thing on 2 different tracks to make the vocals stronger, right? And then let's say Cash might want to come in and do some ins and outs. Cash ins out. All right, so we got Jimmy Cash main. We got Cash punching in on the mains. We got the dubs that'll come from the mains. And we got in and outs where you just come in and repeat just every other word or, you know, put emphasis on certain words. All right, and then we come through and we'll say Cash ad libs. So I just like to put ads, all right? Cash ads. All right, we're gonna move big paper on down some more. And there's a lot of shortcuts that I use for this, but shortcuts would be a different episode. So I'm doing this the slow way just to kind of show you guys uh, the basic way of doing this. So we have cash adds. We're gonna do cash adds 2. Right? If you deal with a lot of, especially a lot of rap artists, you will deal with a lot of ad-libs. Ad-libs are major in the rap industry, especially nowadays. So I would always leave maybe 2 to 3 tracks for different uh, runs of ad-libs. Some artists like to go in and they'll run ad-libs 2, 3, 4 different times. All right? And one to keep all of them at that. So, and then we'll come through, we'll name this cash adds 3, right? So now I have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks for cash, right? So let's just say he comes in, he likes to do a lot of takes, and he likes to keep a lot of takes. He likes to do a lot of blending. You know, he needs a lot of tracks when he records, right? So audio 9, we'll just come in, we'll just make this a record track. All right. Then we got Big Paper, right? Say Big Paper, he's a singer. You know, he really doesn't do a lot of punching in, things of that nature, but he does do dubs. So we'll call this Paper Dubs. Let's just say he don't like to punch in, right? So he don't need punches. So we got Paper Dubs. We got Paper Ins, Outs, right? Where he just comes in, repeats a few of the words that he wants to put emphasis on. All right, let's just say after Paper Ins and Outs, we have Paper Ad Libs. Right, he's a singer, so he's not really coming with a bunch of ads, right? So maybe he just needs 2 ad lib tracks. So Paper adds 2, so he has 2 ad lib tracks. And let's just say the rest of these tracks for Paper are background vocals. So we'll call these paperbacks, like the book. So we'll do paperbacks 2. All right, then we'll do paperbacks 3. And then let's just say he needs 4 background vocals. Paperbacks 4. Boom. Now, we'll name our auxes really quickly. How many artists do we have? 2. So, of course, Jimmy Cash will have his own aux, or we call them subs. So Jimmy Cash sub. All right, and then we'll have, of course, a Big Paper sub. And as you can see, I'm going through naming. I'm taking my time. I'm thinking about it. I'm going through naming every single track. I'm not leaving no stone unturned when it comes to organization. And this it just helps your workflow, man. It helps you move faster. All right, so we might have a Jimmy reverb, right? So we might just have, now I like to use a lot of different reverbs. You know, a lot of people do. I like to mix reverbs, and it's a lot, but we're gonna keep this simple. Jimmy's gonna have one simple single reverb, and Big Paper is gonna have the same thing, right? Just one simple reverb, one simple verb. Keep it simple, right? Then this aux 5 will be, let's just say, I don't know, Big Paper. He's a singer, so he likes delays on his backgrounds. So we'll give paper half delay, right? So we'll create a half delay for big paper. All right, so boom. Now, the way that I like to organize my sessions, split up my sessions so you can really understand and really be able to visualize what's going on in your session. Like I said before, you might have 80 tracks. Right now we have about 20, but it might be 80 of these tracks in a session, depending on how big that session really is. All right, so what I do, everything that's for Jimmy, I'm going to drag to Jimmy's name, right? So Jimmy is up here, right? So I'm going to give Jimmy his own sub. This is also how I will separate my session. So I don't have these different tracks running over each other and running into each other when I'm trying to move quickly. Instead of being on Jimmy's tracks, I'm on Paper's tracks because they're not separated. So these auxes, as you can see, you have your lines, which is just your volume line, your gain line here on your aux. It just allows you to separate the sessions, So we have a Jimmy reverb and we have a Jimmy sub, right? Now we'll take our record. Let's just put the record at the top. For now, I actually like to move my record track down, up and down my track list depending on who's recording. That's how I like to do mine. So all right, so we got Jimmy situated. So now we want to do big paper. So we'll throw his verb in there first, his delay in there, and then we'll throw his sub in there. All right, because we're gonna hit the verb and we're gonna hit the delays, and then all of that will be coming here. All right, so and we'll just change this to master fader over the whole session. All right. So those are the first few things. Organize your session out the gate. Get your tracks in. Name every last track for what you know it is going to be. All right. Now, after you do your naming, the next thing that we like to do is color code. Color code allows you again to kind of just separate tracks. So when you're moving, you're scrolling fast, you're trying to get things done, especially when you're recording. Time is money, so you have to be able to move fast to be able to keep up with these artists that like to punch in. So that is one thing that we like to do. Most engineers, we like to color coordinate. Record tracks are usually red, just because red is a really standout color. Like I said, I like to move my record track back and forth, up and down my track list, when I'm punching in and when I'm recording, just to be able to drag my records down properly. So if I was recording Jimmy Cash, I would have record up here. We would record mains. I would just drag and drop here, right? Then we would record his punch in. I would just go down, drop it down too, And I'm able to just do this at a full speed, at a nice pace, and it works for me, and it works for my artists. Everybody's different. So recorder would be red. Jimmy Cash. So we're going to highlight, we're going to click the first one, which is Jimmy Cash track here, the main track. And then we're going to hold shift, and click all the way to the last audio track, right? So his audio tracks are all blue. They're all mono at that. His auxes are stereo. So this is how you know. You have two channels here. You see left, right there. Those are your meters. And then you have just one right here. Your left, which is mono. All right, so we're gonna double click that color again and say Jimmy Cash. We're gonna go with a nice green, right? Jimmy Cash. All right, make it fun. We'll give him a green color. Now, as you can see, this record, this green and red, it just stands out so much. I can never get these, confused to the point where I don't know which track I'm selecting and which track I'm on, right? This is another thing. I usually choose outlandish colors that don't match. I'm not trying to make my session cute. I'm trying to be able to separate the tracks that I need separated so I can move as freely and as quickly and efficiently as possible. So what I usually do, I usually take the auxes. I'll highlight both of these. I usually take the auxes for that artist or for, that instrument or whatever, and I will make them like a darker version just because these lines show up different, right? So I want to see my green lines. So what I would do, I would make these just a darker green. So green is feeding green, lighter green for the mono audio tracks, and darker green for his auxes. All right? So we'll come down here to big paper, right? Big paper, he having big paper, you feel me? He having big money. So we're going to hold shift, select all. We'll go here. We're going to give him one of them blue faces. You know what I'm saying? We're going to give him the blue because he got blue faces. He really having paperbacks and all that good stuff. Racks on racks. You know what I'm saying? Big paper. That's what he do. All right? So we're going to give him blue, make it fun for him. All right? So the same thing, man. I'm going to hold shift and take all my auxes and just make them a darker version of that blue because I really want my lines to stand out because I'm trying to separate my session. So now as you see, as I'm scrolling through here, I have my green lines. My green lines separate my green tracks from my blue tracks, my cash tracks from my big paper tracks. All right? And then coming from here, these are his auxes. And then I have my master fader, which is also going to usually be like a burgundy, but in this sense, I will make it like a yellow or something, right? So I got blue, green, yellow, and you can see the difference in the colors. They're not similar, and they all stand out in their own way. Okay, so now that we got naming down, we know how to color code. Now it is time to route. This is a very, 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 very important process of being organized and staying organized, especially when you send sessions to other engineers and they have to work on top of what you've done. I cannot tell you how stressful it is. And some of you guys know, and we've been on both sides of the line as well, but I cannot tell you how stressful it is when an engineer sends you a whole session that's mixed and you just have to put a little bit of your mix. You're not starting over, you're not redoing it, you're just adding to his mix. And everything that he has on there is all over the place. There's no labels. All of his auxes and sends, they are not labeled. It's really horrible. And it takes a lot of time to go through each individual track trying to figure out what is what. All right, so naming and color coding is very important. That is very important for you and your workflow. Routing and naming your sends is very important for when you have to pass sessions on. So let's get into that. Now, my record, usually my input would be, N3, whatever my interface is. Whatever interface you're using, you would go into your interface and, put your input. I'm going to put it on 0 right now. So you'll have your input. Your output will be going to your main output, your A1 and 2, or it might say main output or, whatever your main output is. All right. So we want to name our auxes and reroute them, right? We want to route our auxes and rename them. So my cache sub, I will go to my buses here because that's what this is. This is a bus. I will go here and then I will go verse 1, right? Now I would name this sub verse 1, right? Cache is verse 1. He's the first artist. I would right click on that. All you have to do is once you choose your bus, and it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Some of these are already named because I just name buses. But as you can see, you go through, and so matter of fact, let's just go 25 and 26, right? So my 25 and my 26 will be renamed to, I'll right click and rename that. And we're going to put Jimmy Cash on there. We're going to put Jimmy Cash. That's his bus, right? So boom, now his sub is named after his bus. We're going to do the same thing with the reverb. So we're going to go down to the bus. We're going to click, go down to the bus. Let's go 2728. We're going to name that. And see, once you rename your buses, it won't matter if they're out of order, right? Ideally, sometimes your buses are going to be out of order. You're going to route them to whatever you feel like you can route them to, because you really can. If you have 64 or 100, open buses, you can literally use 1 to 100. You can use as many as you want, however you want. But if you skip 45, 46 buses to hit 47, 48, for your vocals, then at least name it vocals. I don't want to have to scroll all the way down to 47 and 48 and be like, oh, that's what that bus is, Name it vocals so I'll know, okay, this is his vocal bus. All right, so we're going to do 2728 for his reverb, right? Right click, go back, rename it. We're going to name this Cash Reverb. Cash Reverb. And then from there, y'all excuse my kids. Hey, man, you know what's going on. All right, so then we have done this for Jimmy. Now we need to go down here and we need to do the same thing for paper. So we're going to hit this input here on our auxes, right? And then let's say we want to use 5152. I got a lot going on today, but we're going to get this work. You hear me? So 51 and 52 would be paper verb. And then we'll go here. Let's do, I'm just showing you guys that you can literally use any bus you want to use if it's labeled, right? So we're going to go way to 87, 88, but we're going to rename it paper delay or paper half. We'll name it paper half, right? Because I know that's a half delay, right? And so the same thing here. Now we're going to go, let's say we go 29 and 30 here. It don't matter if you're out of order if you're actually naming them. This is going to be a paper sub here. All right. Now, as you can see, all of my auxes, if you pay attention to all of my darker tracks, they're the auxes. All of my stereo tracks, they're the auxes. They have names on the auxes. They have names on the auxes for each artist. So now what all I have to do is go on the Jimmy Cash track, and then I'm going to go to his ad-libs. I'm going to select them all holding shift. Then I'm going to hold down option, go to outputs, buses, and then send that to my Jimmy Cash sub. Now, as you can see, this right here should be, this output should be going to main. All right, so now as you can see, all of my Jimmy Cash audio tracks are going to my Jimmy Cash sub. All right, now if I want to add reverb, let's just say on his ins and outs, he wants reverb. I just go down to sends, go to my bus, then I find the reverb. This will be his reverb. I can adjust how much of his reverb that I want to send him, right? So that's why I like to name all of my auxes. If he wants reverb here, I go to cash reverb, and he might not want that much reverb coming through there. Same thing down here. If he wants the reverb, go to my sends, go to my buses, boom, cash reverb. And it won't matter what number the bus is because it's named. You can go out of order as long as, as long as it's named, right? So now, anything that I'm playing here, anything that I'm playing up in here, for all of these tracks here, they will all live here. So any plug-in that I put on this sub, on this aux, will affect every last one of these tracks here that's highlighted, right? Every track that's going to the Jimmy Cash sub, I can affect it right here as a whole, and I can need whatever plugins needed, whatever sends needed. I can send all of this to my reverb to get a bigger reverb on the whole entire sound, on the whole entire verse if I want to. And you see how fast I'm just able to just add reverb to it, and I can keep going. So we're going to do the same thing with Big Paper. We're going to highlight all of Big Paper, holding down Shift, highlight every track. We're going to do Shift Option, go to Output, Bus, and then we're going to send that. See, boom, here's my paper sub. Boom. Now, all of this is going to all of these paper audio tracks. They're all going to my paper sub. Paper sub here in my input. All of these audio tracks output is paper sub. That means they're coming out and going in to this aux. So same thing, all of those tracks are routed right here. They're all going right here. I can, whatever plugins I put here, whatever I do to this whole entire aux will affect every last one of those tracks together. This is another way of soft grouping, if you will. If you want to affect everything together like a group, but without actually grouping it together, then you send it to an aux. And then same thing here. I got my paper verb already labeled. I have my paper half delay already named. So I just go back to my sends. Let's say on his background vocals, you know, he wants, and all I have to do is scroll down. Oh, paper verb. Boom. He wants a paper verb there. But on these backgrounds, he wants, scroll down. And I would never skip like this, but some people do. And I'm just showing you that if you name it, I don't have to go down through bust this. I can just look for the name itself. So say he wants a half delay on that and he wants it blaring. He wants it going crazy. I'm going to turn it all the way up. I'm going to turn this verb all the way up. So y'all get the point. I'm naming every aux I have. He has his own verb. He has his own delay. I can send each one of these tracks through here to those time-based effects, and then I can send everything that's here to this main aux here to be edited as a whole, I guess you can say. All right, and then my master fader. So I want to show you guys this last thing. This is, like I said, this is a really quick, easy video. I just wanted to show y'all how to name everything, color code everything, route everything. It's all about naming, color coding, routing. All right, and this will up your workflow 1,000%. And not to mention, this is the way that you build templates. Now you can go on here and you add, you know, whatever plugins you want to add. You got your EQs. As you can see, I got a bunch of EQs, dynamics, you know, your compressors, your gates, your limiters, whatever, your auto tune, you know, your pitch shift or however, pitch correction, all these different types of plugins, your reverbs. Well, you would go to your actual reverb track and then put a reverb on that track, right? So you have an aux for your reverb. Instead of putting a reverb on this actual track, no, you create an aux for it, and then that way you can control how much of that reverb. You can really tune in and how much of that reverb you really want to come in. So name your session straight out the gate, import your tracks in, name every last single one of them, create auxes for them, color code, name all of your auxes and your sends. All right, and I guarantee you, you know, a person that have never ever really worked in Pro Tools will be able to come into this session and be like, okay, I got all my green tracks here. It's coming. Okay, what is it? Oh, this is output. Okay, so this is my output. Oh, okay, it's going into here, you know. So that's why we name, that's why we organize. Let me show you guys this one last thing. So you want to go to setup, this allocation. This right here, it allows you to see where everything is being saved at. So all of the tracks that I created, everything that I created, everything that I might have recorded on these tracks, every waveform on these tracks are all being saved right here onto my desktop. YL True Spit Desktop. This is the name Rebel Ears Episode 2 Session Organization. Right? So if you had a hard drive or whatever you're saving sessions on, make sure you go to setup, disk allocation, and then make sure that you pay attention to where you're saving all of your tracks. This will allow you to not leave the studio or not leave wherever you're at and not have every single file you need. See, a lot of times you pull up sessions and you're like, I can't find the beat, or oh, I'm missing, you know, the ad libs. What happened to them? 9 times out of 10, they were saved somewhere else. So before you exit out of a session, but when you get some free time in any session, make sure you go through here and you make sure everything, as you can see, it is all going to the same exact place. All right. Once again, this is YL. I appreciate y'all, man. We had a few mishaps today, but life is real. You understand me? And I hope you guys got some good information, man. I had a good time just explaining how I build my templates and how I organize my sessions. And this is pretty standard. It's easy. It's simple. It don't take long if you really know what you're doing. And like I said before, once you are able to come in and name and route and color code, then you can build templates. All right. See y'all on the next episode. Thank y'all again. YL out. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you hit that follow button, that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Check out our website, rebelears.com, for all the cool products we have for you guys. Follow us on social media, Rebel Ears Podcast on Instagram, Rebel Ears on Twitter, Rebel Ears on TikTok. And I'll see you guys next time. Be safe.